Hi, I'm Kevin Hunter. I host Business Talk Radio on the Business Forum Show. Recently, I was invited to participate on an advisory board for the Minnesota School of Business to help college students understand what things to do and what things to expect when they go to interview for a job. Now, I'm going to share with you a few notes that I made, and I want to emphasize the fact that I made a few notes because it's one of the things I'm going to suggest that you do in a job interview. So first of all, let's talk about qualifications. In today's world, a college education is a lot like the old high school. Years ago, if you didn't graduate from high school, it was pretty tough to get a job. These days, if you haven't graduated from college, it's pretty tough to get a job as well. So just assume that college education will be part of the qualifications for many of the jobs that are out there. And then, of course, your experience plays a big factor in that as well. So beyond qualifications, I'm going to talk a lot about the intangibles, the other things that you have to bring to the table in order to be considered for the job. Now, these are the things that are really tough, but if you're practiced and prepared, you'll do just fine. So, number one, research the company. You can research the company online. You can also actually call the company directly. If I was interviewing at a company on Friday and it's Monday, I'd actually call somebody at the organization and visit with them about it. In fact, sometimes the best person to talk to is the person who sits at the front desk, kind of the gatekeeper. Now, this can work in your favor. It can also work against you. If you do a really nice job, you're very friendly and personable and professional, you're likely to get a nice recommendation from this person to the person you're probably hiring with. However, if you turn out to be a jerk, plan on having your application get tossed in the circular file. If you're not sure what that is, that's the trash can, and that's where your opportunities will go to. Number two, ask for advice. You can ask for advice from your peers. You can ask for advice from your instructors in school, but you can also call business owners. You can call other business owners and visit with them and say, hey, if you were looking for a candidate, what would you look for? Again, take notes and be serious about it. Next on the list, be practiced. I didn't start this video without practicing and thinking about it and jotting down some notes, and neither should you. Don't go interview somewhere and think you can just wing it on a hope and a prayer and that little piece of paper you called your resume. It's probably not going to happen. So practice. The professionals do it all the time. Next is be professional. Show up looking like you're not a homeless person. Show up looking like you're not somebody who is absolutely desperate for a job. Be professional in your conduct. Be professional in your dress. Show up on time and act like you actually want the job. Being professional is a really big piece of this. The next two things I'm going to give you are probably as important as anything else on this list, and maybe even more important, and that is be genuine and be sincere. You know what's important is that you don't go there and try to put on a dog and pony show that is far from who you actually are. Many employers express a great deal of frustration trying to sort out the BS, the fact from the fiction. Who is this person really? Go there and be genuine and be sincere. And you know what? When you do those two things, you'll not only be much more relatable by the person that's interviewing with you, but they'll actually hire the right person for the job. And that's a good thing for you. Sometimes it's viewed as a bad thing if you don't get the job and you are genuine and sincere, but they actually did you a favor by not putting you into a job that didn't suit you. But if you do get the job and you are both genuine and sincere to who you are, you've just landed an opportunity you're going to be very happy with. Next is be present and engaging. People come there, they don't have their phones turned off. They're thinking about what they're going to say next. They're not even listening to the interviewer who's talking to them. So be present and then be engaging, be friendly. Don't sit there like a bump on the log that says, okay, yeah, and you've got nothing to offer. So be part of the process, be present, be engaging, and be an interesting person to talk to. Next on the list, this is a two-way interview. It's not only the company interviewing you to find out if you're the right person for the job, but it's also you interviewing them to find out if they're the right company and the right position for you. So I recommend that you actually write down a list of questions that you'd like to ask these people. Why? Because you may not remember when the time comes. Write it down on a piece of paper. I'm always impressed when somebody comes in and interviews for a job and actually has some prepared questions they want to ask. So do it. It'll also help ease a little bit of your anxiety. The other part is now by having some written questions in front of you, You also, by default, have some paper with you. Bring a pen. Take notes. When the interviewer is talking and there's things that you feel compelled to interrupt them, don't interrupt them. Take notes. Write things down that are of interest to you, and you can come back to them. You won't forget. And then later, after the interview process is over, you can actually look through these notes later, and you're likely to learn some new things about the organization and perhaps about yourself. Next is attitude. Now, this is far down on the list of the things that I've already pointed out, but attitude is probably number one. Having a positive attitude, somebody who is really, when we look at victors versus victims in life, don't be the person who has this attitude that you're victimized by things and that woe is me and woe is life and what am I going to do? Come there with the right attitude. And attached to attitude, I've actually given this a separate category all by itself, and that's a word called entitlement. There's a lot of people in today's world that think they're entitled. They think they're owed. Well, you show up to a job interview with that kind of attitude, thinking you're owed something and you deserve something. Or if you have worked with the organization for a short period of time and think, now I should be the boss, I'm entitled, I deserve. Well, you know what? If you show up with that kind of attitude, the entitlement attitude, you will get what you deserve, and it won't be very much. Next on the list, be teachable and be coachable. Do you know that a lot of organizations, going back to attitude, that attitude is the number one thing that many organizations hire on? Well, number two on the list is, are you teachable? Are you coachable? Can we teach you anything? Are you stuck in a rut? Do you kind of like to always do things your way? They're going to find out if you're teachable and coachable and show that you are in that interview process. Tied into teachability and coachability is mental flexibility. Now, I mentioned mental flexibility as a separate category because we face such challenging times that your ability to be flexible, if you're the type of person who says, that's not my job, so you're not going to help somebody else out, they don't need people like that. And they don't need you if you have that type of attitude. You need to be mentally flexible so that you can think outside the box, you can be a little creative. And speaking about creativity is the next subject on my list. Have some vision and have some ideas. This is an area that if you show up and you're well prepared, you've done your research, you've actually thought about what other things this company might consider. When you show up and you actually have ideas and you can share a little bit of vision or even vision about your own future, you're going to blow people away. Because let me share with you a really interesting statistic. 70% of the businesses out there have neither verbal or written goals in their organization. 27% have verbal goals only, and 3% have very clear written goals and objectives. Now, what does that tell you in terms of where a lot of businesses are in terms of not understanding their vision that well? That's a majority of them. So by being prepared, having some ideas, and having some vision, it puts you in the driver's seat to share some ideas and vision with them, and you're going to blow them away if you do that. Next is feedback. Now, the reason why feedback is a really important thing, first of all, it takes a very wise person and also a humble person to ask for this. So at the end of your interview, consider asking the interviewer, say, what do you think I did well today? What do you think my strengths are? Ask for that feedback. And when they've given that to you, write it down. Don't just sit there and nod your head. But then also say, what do you think I could have done better? Or where do you see my areas of weakness? Ask for that too. They'll give it to you. But when we talk about being blown away, this is another thing that very few people do at an interview. And if you do it, you have a chance to stand out and learn something about yourself. So the last thing I'm going to say is going to surprise you a little bit. Be afraid. Now you might say, whoa, Kevin, I thought you just gave me all this stuff so I could have some confidence and I could go in there and not be afraid. No, I'm saying be afraid. Now, why did I say that? Well, because I know you're going to be anyway, and I just gave you permission. But here's the thing. For some people, fear controls them. For other people, they have figured out how to control their fear. So when you go to this interview and you do all this preparation, you're still going to arrive there having butterflies in your stomach. But by doing all the preparation, You're going to teach those butterflies to fly in formation, and you're going to do just fine. I'm Kevin Hunter on the Business Forum Show. I wish you well in prospecting for jobs. Thanks for listening.